Yippee-yay!
What makes a game good? What makes a game worth buying, playing, talking about, making fan art, cosplay, modding? Fallout 4 is a game that was anticipation by many, with many of the fans getting hooked when Liam Neeson was being our father, and the satisfaction we felt when we murdered Benny. But Fallout has more to it, as most would say, and I am inclined to agree with that statement, considering it's one of the few successful Western RPGs there is. But not only that, for some reason, most of us have forgotten. This better be good.
Heard you were saying good things about Fallout 4, huh? Reddit.
Yeah, it's a good game. It has
You don't get it, do you? You have to hate it now. But that does evil now. And 4chan says you have to trash talk everything they've made.
But I can't just change my feelings. The fuck was that?
I can't afford a real gun. I'm just a YouTube troll.
Get the fuck out.
Okay. Oh, you can subscribe to me and I'll get a shout out.
Get out! Look, I wanted to avoid this, but for this video I guess it cannot be helped. I like this game, and despite what other thinks, I like it more than 3 or New Vegas. If you want to be a petulant child and not stick around as to why I like this one more than others, then you can leave and never come back to this channel. You were just looking for someone to disagree with anyway, and that's not what this channel is about. For those who stayed, thank you for at least hearing me out. Despite what you come to watch this video, either for the opportunity to get offended or the chance to be confirmed of what you already know, you need to know I don't see games the way others do. I can like a game that has many flaws but still tries, or despise a game based on one mistake in its actual design. It's all about how I feel when I'm playing, and the analytical side comes in and determines if it was worthwhile to even bother to make a video on. That's what this series of review style is for, to voice my opinion and to possibly give you a new perspective on what a game that you may have liked or hated. And I hate that I have to come out and say this, because if I don't, there will always be that one guy that just doesn't get it, that needs to be that special snowflake. So here it is, my first disclaimer ever required by one of my videos, because there are people who think that their opinions matter more than anyone else's. And I'm disappointed that it's Fallout and not something else that would make more sense. It's just Fallout. Why do people need to justify why they hate 4 more than any other? I mean, sure, some of the RPG elements were streamlined, the speech system was simplified. But what did you expect? People complained in the previous Fallouts that the speech system was clunky and cumbersome, so they reduced its size and integrated it more into the world to appear less unnatural. The perk system was confusing to some people, and the verbal descriptions were not helping in the least, so the system was revamped, and to be honest, it's more user-friendly than the previous incarnations. And then there's the gunplay. Never have I seen hate for such a system that was massively improved from its previous incarnations of Fallout 3 and New Vegas. That is straight up just an upgrade, and it does nothing but enhance gameplay. The first thing I'm going to actually talk about for Fallout 4 is the fact that this game was hyped beyond belief. I mean, fans were going nuts by the first 3 seconds of the promo trailer, and it just kept building until finally it released, and then disappointment. Even though what was promised was delivered, fans were still saddened by their own image that they conjured in their minds. It was so bad, in fact, that most gave it lower scores on reviews, even though it delivered. But I guess it just didn't deliver what was in their minds, and what the developers should have included. This form of overhype was one of the biggest forms of successful marketing backfiring that I've ever seen. Well, except for this flaming piece of garbage, but I guess that's just Fallout.
I got word of a settlement.
Next on the jarring segue, we have the biggest neon elephant in the room, and the Bethesda's biggest blunder of a move, Creation Club. This idea of paid mods was good in theory, but if the company had any bit of brains in their head, they would have seen what happened to Valve when they tried to pull that shit. and not have even tried. The previous sentence was brought to you by every PC gamer or any smart spending consumer ever. But even I can't find fault in thinking in this way. For you see, it was never the developer's intention of creating this creation club. It was not even the manager's idea. It was those in the financial part of the company that wanted more money, and even they were heeding the voice of someone even higher up. Let me introduce you to your true root of sin, your Judas, the true soulless ones. ZeniMax Media. ZeniMax is so large, here's a list of companies that they now own. Media Technology Ltd, Escalation Studio, Tango Gameworks, Arcane Studios, id Software, and the entirety of Bethesda Studios, that publishes games themselves. If you ever wanted to point a finger at why some of the decisions were so hollow and pointed to the lowest denominator for sales, then here is your puppeteer. ZeniMax is the reason why Creation Club is a thing, and you can tell that Bethesda Studios don't care for it even though the CEO likes to try and give it praise that the people that do run and make CC don't. I mean, how else are you going to explain the blatant price gouging of mods, the poor implementation, the lack of any effort into trying to get mods onto this front, developers' refusal to accept help from the community of Nexus mods to help manage CC or take pointers? The actual people in Bethesda Studios hate the idea of Creation Club. But that's what the parent company wants, so that's what it gets. So it wouldn't get involved even more and interfere with other projects. But even now, while I agree that Creation Club was a failure on every front, there's something that people don't realize. Paid mods were here before any of this ever happened, and it was right here before and during Fallout 4. Paid mods were always a thing. In fact, there are community websites that existed before New Vegas that took your money to get mods. Even Nexus Mods, it had an optional paid subscription to be able to download premium mods that modders make. This compensates the modders in the time you get a less buggy modding experience. After a while though, this was downgraded to a membership to the site that gives you better downloading speeds and removes ads from the website. Still, in a way, this is paid mods, but I guess that's just Fallout though. Now that we got all of Fallout's external baggage out of the way, we can finally talk about what I actually think about this game. It's okay. Alright, fine. I'll elaborate a bit more. VATS has been part of Fallout from its inception, and like so, it hasn't changed very much. More like evolved to serve the same purpose. You see, the original two games, the VATS system was made to add depth to the stilted combat mechanics, and it served a similar niche as a band-aid fix for Bethesda's first stab at the series. You see, Fallout 3's gunplay is a load of shit. There's no iron sights, its detection is a joke, and because everything is covered in shit green, you cannot see the enemies unless you spam the VATS button until it detects an enemy. And 4, the gunplay is improved to the point that VAT acts like a supplement to the gameplay, rather than a band-aid. VATS enhances the experience by giving you the ability to quickly make a plan of attack and execute special takedowns or complex moves in the heat of battle. But the best part is the part that you don't really need to rely on it to get by, and this makes one of the best Fallout games in my mind already. Even the new crit mechanic helps to reward the player for fighting smart and using a mix of VATS and normal shooting, and will probably leave an impact on future RPGs to come. I mean, why can't I hit harder on some hits rather than suddenly get a random critical hit for no reason?
And that's how, with a few minor adjustments, you can turn a regular gun into 5 guns.
In Fallout 3 and New Vegas, the crafting and modding system seemed to be the most neglected of the systems. The crafting was clunky, convoluted, and it could be avoided and nothing would come of it. Crafting systems in the earlier games seemed like they were stripped down and were cut down to put more resources into other aspects of the game. While the repairing system was there to add phantom difficulty to the game. Like this one gun, got a bunch of ammo for it? Too bad, it broke, and you don't have any weapon to mash into it to repair the gun. This forces the player to have at least a third of your inventory weight to be dedicated to carrying around 5 spares of a weapon to repair the damn thing. Luckily, the devs realized this and removed it entirely. Instead, we got what I always wanted in a Fallout game, an actual, in-depth crafting system that is fairly well-balanced and rewards the player for already formed a habit of picking up literally everything off the ground. Even small things, like highlighting a specific resource that you wanted, is a nice touch, but I do have one gripe about this. I wish we had a grinder that we could have by default in the game that could grind down the parts we threw at it into the base components. This would save us a lot of headache in the inventory menus. But I guess that's just Fallout, though.
I got word of a settlement that needs our help. I'll mark it on your map.
The settlement system, and by proxy, the endless missions that accompany it, are fine. Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's not the best part of the game. In fact, I think it's the biggest detractor of the game. The system itself is a good idea in theory. We can build up our own faction and reap the benefits. Instead, we are just the errand boy to people that can't do anything themselves. The actual building of the settlements is fine, save for the snapping mechanic being a drunk bum off the street sometimes. And then the resource costs to the building and then getting the 100% happiness is just not worth it. To be honest, the whole point of the settlement building system is just a resource sink to justify the hoarding habits the player has. Then there are the endless quests, with the biggest complaint being that people can't remove the quest from their quest log. For me, it's just an endless complaint list for farming XP if you want it. It's there, it's boring, and I can ignore it. But that's just Fallout, I guess. And here we are, at the final point of the video. The reason that it's just Fallout. But people fail to realize that took just as much effort to revamp the mechanics of everything else. Modding. The modding capability of Fallout 4 is one of the best in many years. This game is so flexible that you can create or modify almost any aspect of the game, and add to it as you please. And the best part about this is that the modding community took full advantage of it. And Fallout can be whatever you want. Think the speech system is too simplistic? There's a mod for that. Want an even more extensive modding career for weapons and armor? There's a mod for that. Want Preston to finally shut the fuck up? There's a mod for that. And while it can be confusing for someone who's new to the modding scene, the modding community is there and are more than willing to help you. And it is by far one of the best parts of this community. And sometimes a community can make a game worthwhile. Even if the game was hated on launch, got bad scores, and was overhyped. I guess that's just Fallout, isn't it? Cheers.